Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for March 4th, 2025. Well, hey everyone, I'm back in the saddle, back in Nebraska. We're actually getting ready for a blizzard today. Quite the change in weather. But back from my brother's services, it was a wild trip. I'm a little bit jet lagged. I'm very, very tired. But here this morning to get the morning market prep done. Let's take a look at what happened overnight here. If we take a look at our Asian markets had it just a little bit rough last night. Australia lower by 0.58%. The Nikkei was down 1.20%, kind of taking the worst of it. India was down, Hong Kong was down, South Korea was down. We had Shanghai up just a tiny little bit at 0.22%. If we take a look at European markets this morning, European markets are down across the board and decidedly bearish, with the DAX down 472 points or 2.03%. The FTSE is lower by 26.55 and the CAC is down 96.50 here this morning. If we take a look at U.S. futures, they've bounced around a little bit here, tried to get positive a little bit overnight, but the Dow is back in the red at the moment, down 0.06%. S&P 500 futures are down 0.05% or $5, and NASDAQ futures showing a little bit of green here, 0.04%, or right now up a whopping $1.75. So not a great start to the day, but certainly better than what we saw yesterday in the market. Let's take a look at what we've got going here on the bond front. Bonds this morning, mostly lower here this morning, moving down. We've got the 2-year bonds at 3.92%. 10-year bonds are at 4.16%, and the 30 years are at 4.47%. As a result, though, we are actually seeing the U.S. dollar falling here this morning. U.S. dollar futures are down 59 cents here this morning, pulling back as the market is still reeling just a little bit from the increased tariffs that are shaking up the market pretty substantially here today and obviously yesterday. If we take a look at oil this morning, oil is moving lower here this morning. Oil is down 90 cents a barrel at 67.47 a barrel, and Brent down $1 at 70.56 a barrel. Natural gas is also moving lower here this morning, but as you can look here at UNG, not enough to be a major concern, just down about 3 cents here on the day. While if we take a look at XLE, that's a relatively concerning pattern with this lower high coming in here on those energies and pushing lower, break below this support in here, and we'll have a lower high followed by a lower low, which means downtrend continues. So watch that carefully here. If we take a look at our precious metals market, that dropping dollar has got gold moving up again this morning. Gold is up $28 an ounce here at the moment in gold futures. If we look at silver, silver is also moving up this morning. We've got silver futures up 16 cents an ounce at $32.47 an ounce. Gold's coming in there at $2,929 an ounce this morning. If we take a look at copper, Well, we've got our copper just a little bit lower here, and you can see we're coming into an area of price support that we'll certainly want to be paying attention to here. This last push down here bounced off of that area. We'll see if we can get that done this time. So watch that carefully here. COPX, we have platinum lower, and palladium. Palladium is trying to show a little bit of a move up here in the ETF, but palladium itself is down $6.60 an ounce here at the moment. And then if we take a look at crypto, pretty rough period of time here in the old cryptos. Bitcoin had a rough day yesterday. Pop and drop, leaving a big old dark cloud cover candle here as it continues this downtrend. And this morning we're gapping lower. Right now Bitcoin is down $1,837 a coin. Ether is also lower, $14.34 a coin here at the moment, 0.77%, and mostly bearish here on those cryptos here this morning. So keep a close eye on those, feeling a little bit rough despite the fact that the dollar is falling today. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Tuesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these index charts and see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. First off, if taking a look at the diamonds, obviously yesterday was pretty ugly. We've had some amazing volatility here the last few days. Big whip up and then a complete whipsaw reversal yesterday. Pretty good relief bounce off of this area of support yesterday, but still not feeling very positive here at all. As you can see, if those bears were to continue to find inspiration here today, then a push back down here to retest yesterday's low does seem like a likely possibility if they find any reason to push. Now, if they go any further than that, notice we are kind of in this gap area here in the chart. So if that were to fail here, I think we could easily see a pretty quick trip right down into this area here to fill this gap in the Dow. Now, if we take a look at our the bullish side of this, if the bulls can find some inspiration here today, well, first step is we need to break through this resistance here in the chart. Certainly looks like a possibility that that could be the case with any kind of a bullish push, and if they can pop up through there, then we might start stretching up here toward this area of resistance in the chart. So watch that carefully. Now clearly we've got a lot of work here to get a little bit of confidence back in the market. This right here constitutes a failure at the 50-day moving average, that potential blue ice failure pattern that we talk about. And with this gap below, it does make me worry about that possibility of the gap fill. Any rally back up toward the 50 to fail the 50 always makes me think that we may be finding a way or finding that pattern that could take us down to the 200-day moving average here in the diamonds. Let's take a look at our SPY. Now, SPY, pretty rough situation here as well. As you can see, obviously, big old bearish pattern here. This is what I call an Oreo cookie pattern. You can see the cookie and our cream filling there on the middle. Well, that Oreo cookie has a tendency of leading us lower here in the market. And if we were to take a look, if those bears were to continue to push, I'm going to place a little price support right in here on yesterday's low. And a push down below that area, well, as you can see, we've got some areas in here that we could test, maybe down right in here that we could test, and then beyond that, it gets pretty rough here as we continue to push lower here in the market. So watch carefully for that possibility. But if the bulls can find some inspiration here, well, first off, that Oreo cookie, we need to kind of take that out, see if we can push above those lows right there. And if we can, then notice we've got this gap over here that maybe we could refill to the upside. Maybe we could come back up in here, see if we can test that area of resistance in the chart. But clearly we've got a pretty bearish situation going on here in the SPY. Looking at our moving moving average here, you can see a full-on blue eyes failure, Oreo cookie pattern underneath the SPY. And I think there's every reason to believe we could see the 200-day moving average here on the SPY before too long. Now, if we take a look at our QQQ, very similar, ugly situation here in the market. We didn't get a nice clean Oreo cookie. This is one of those Oreo cookies where they sit out in the sun too long and the cookies kind of slid around on that filling. But obviously a bearish pattern here to be sure. And if we were to see any bullish activity, well, I'm going to suggest right up in here would be the test of that resistance. Popping through that area, then we could start progressing back up to see if we can deal with this resistance up here in the chart. If the bears have anything to say, however, I would not rule out the possibility of a retest of yesterday's low. That's a fairly common thing that occurs to retest lows. If that were to fail, however, there's an area right through here that I would suggest could be the next area of price support. See that little support area in there, and then beyond that I think we're maybe down in here on our QQQ. Looking at our moving averages on this, you can see we're so close to the 200-day moving average. We came really close to it yesterday. That possibility of a test of the 200-day doesn't seem to be out of the question, so watch that carefully. And this failure up here at the 50-day, certainly a bearish pattern to consider. Our IWM, poor old IWM, continues to suffer here pretty substantially, breaking down from that trend. Now, I would say in the short term we're overextended on all of these indexes, and that gives me a little bit of hope of a relief rally could occur at any time. But that being said, if the bears continue to find inspiration here today after kind of breaking down below this area of price support in the chart, let me pull that back. You can see that goes back here quite a ways in the chart. Notice all of this area over here underneath that area. So we're creating a very big resistance level to try and push back up through. If those bears, however, continue to push, I've got the next area of price support down in here, as you can see, and then beyond that, we'll start working through, maybe picking out some points down in here on IWM. Now, if the bulls have anything to say, a retest of this resistance, we're going to need a pretty good push to push us through here again. Here's that Oreo cookie with one cookie on the other side kind of deformed and really big. So if those bulls can get going and push through here, then I'm going to suggest that next area is going to be right up here to test that, and then maybe pushing on through to the upside here of that resistance area in the chart. Now, if we look at our moving averages here, clearly this is a pretty ugly situation where we have failed our 200-day moving average. We attempted to test it as resistance here and failed that, pushing on lower. So what do you go now in moving averages? Well, it's the 500-day moving average that we'll be watching as a big moving average support in here. So watch carefully. Any rally back up into here, notice our 50 is coming down quickly and sharply. So as we rally back up, we could end up with a strong resistance area here in moving averages, and we could even start to see that death cross beginning to happen here in the near future on IWM, where the 50 crosses down through the 200-day moving average. So pretty rough situation here for the indexes. at the moment. Let's take a look at our VIX. Now, our VIX really extended up here yesterday, pushing up through. We're running about 22.78 on that VIX. Notice we tested this resistance and then backed away from it. If those bears continue to find inspiration here, watch carefully for that possibility that that could pop, and we could even be up here testing this area of resistance in the chart on our VIX. Now remember, every time that VIX goes up, well, we start to pay more and more and more for the options that we trade, meaning that the premium, the extrinsic value of the option goes up. So as you trade options, just remember, you're going to be paying a lot more for that extrinsic value, which means your theta decay that you're picking up in those options is a lot higher. So plan your trading, plan your risk carefully here if you're trading options. Now, if those bears have anything bulls have anything to say, that a push back down, you can see there's a little bit of price support right in here. That would relieve some of this pressure in the market. And then, of course, beyond that point, I'm going to suggest we come back down here, see if we can retest these recent lows here in that support area back down here around 18.5 handles in the market. Let's take a look at our T20s. Our T2122, unfortunately, I wish I could tell you that we're at the bottom. We're at the full bullish reversal zone, but that's not the truth. As you can see here in T2122, we've been pushing down here pretty hard. Big old whipsaw here from 50% yesterday. And that possibility, if those bears were to continue to push, we've still got more room for them to go if they find some kind of inspiration to do so. If the bulls, on the other hand, find inspiration, well, we've certainly got an upside opportunity, pretty substantial upside opportunity, if those bulls can find something to grab a hold of. So watch carefully in here. Now, I want to continue to suggest the possibility of big whipsaws are possible here in the market, and I'll show you why in just a moment. Our T2108 percentage of stocks holding above their 40-day moving average, hitting 30.80 here in this. So not looking too good overall, but we do have a reasonable area of price support in there right around 30. So if those bulls can find some inspiration here, pushing back up through that area, maybe we can start coming back up and testing some resistance in the chart. We'll want to be watching that. If, however, those bears were to find additional inspiration and breaking us back down below 30, then there is some support here, and of course support down in these areas of the chart on the T2108. T2107, well, unfortunately here also very concerning, pushing sharply lower. We didn't quite make it down to this last push down here, but came really close. Less than 40% of the stocks holding above their 200-day. Now you'll want to notice if those bears were to take out this low right in here, we might find some support down in here, might find a little support down in here if those bears were to get going. If those bulls find some inspiration, however, and bounce up off this area, well, we can see those areas as well. A little bit of resistance right in here, some resistance up in here if we can get them coming back into the market. And then our T2101, this is the reason, guys, why I think that we still have the potential for some pretty big point move whipsaws in that big bearish move that occurred yesterday. Notice that our T2101 did not register much breadth. Now, that might give you some hope that those bulls are about ready to step back in and catch that nice relief rally in the market. But it still begs that question. If the bears were to find some inspiration here, we could see that big whip to the downside. This is still very weak breadth for the kind of price moves that we're getting in the market. So be kind of careful here. And again, plan your trading carefully, plan that risk carefully here in the market. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, well, we've got just a little bit going on here, but overall a very light day. If you can see, we've got a Treasury buyback announcement in here, bond settlements, we've got some bond announcements, and then all we've got to worry about on the economic calendar for today is that 6-week bill auction in here, and then some Fed speak. As we look forward to tomorrow, however, we've got a pretty busy day coming in. We're going to get that ADP report. We've got a PMI final. We're going to take a look at factory orders, ISM, petroleum status in here. So don't be surprised if today could end up being a little bit of a hurry up and wait day as we start moving into some of these big economic numbers in the market. Also taking a look, we've got that 4-month bill auction in here, beige book as well. So keep an eye on that as you're planning forward into Wednesday. And then if we take a look at our earnings calendar here for today, well, our earnings are really starting to slow down, but we definitely have some notables here to be paying attention to. There's a cut list for you guys because I'm still not doing the blog. I'm just our life is just crazy here right now, and not having the time or, well, maybe just the willingness to do it here at the moment. If you take a look and take a screenshot of this, but what I'm going to do is run through these a little bit here this morning because we've already got some earnings in. We've got AZO in this morning, and it is moving just a little bit lower here on AutoZone. We've got Best Buy, that's doing a nice little pop up here this morning. EVGO trying to push back up after a little bit lower here. GENI also just a little bit questionable, sitting there on support here this morning. OLPX trying to push back up, not particularly notable to be honest in here on that, but keep an eye on it. ONON, keep an eye on that. Nice little pop up here this morning coming into play. We've got SE getting a nice little pop this morning, pushing to the upside, maybe testing that resistance in the chart here today. And last but not least, Target. Well, a little bit disappointing here on Target, just kind of putting in a spinner here this morning, trying to hold on to this price support, a little bit of uncertainty there, and raising some additional concerns about the strength of the consumer, I should say. If we take a look at after the bell, we've got stocks like AVAV that will be in there. We're going to see Box. CHPT will be reporting. We've got CRDO in there, CTOS, EOLS, FLUT. We've got Nordstrom's will be reporting, and then we're going to hear from Roast and SQM. So keep an eye on those notables for this afternoon. How about we take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today? But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube, and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, and that would be click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to continue to grow. And thank you so much for everyone who takes the time to do that. I hope to be on task here today. My day is going to be a little bit scrambled, and I am just extremely tired from this trip. It was very, very busy. in short time here, but I'm going to do my best to answer those comments today. So thank you everyone who does take the time to do that, and also those of you who share those videos out on your social media feed. That helps a lot as well. Thank you everyone. I truly appreciate it. Let's take a look at some of those stocks that could be setting up. Remember everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence. Be very careful in this market, and remembering that the whipsaws and the big point moves are very likely possible. Now, taking a look at that, one of the places that we do want to look is we want to look at some of these defensive stocks. Now, defensive sector stocks tend to do quite well when the market is very nervous here overall. And now, I have a bias in this, and you guys know that I've been holding this, and even though I was gone and very busy, not able to pay attention, I was comfortable to continue to hold Altria here. Pushing up here toward this resistance, I'd be watching this resistance closely to see if we can pop through, but if we catch a little rest or pullback in here, that would not be a surprise. But keep an eye on some of these old boring defensive companies that pay dividends. They're looking pretty good in a lot of places. You guys know I've mentioned Coke over and over as it came up out of this bottom. Well, yesterday, breaking through this resistance, yesterday it decided to push on higher to test these additional resistance areas in the chart. So I'd keep an eye on that. We could look at like Keurig Dr. Pepper, nice little pattern in here, breaking through resistance, trying to show some bullishness here, that potential to move on higher. We see things like KHC setting up a nice bullish pattern in here. Now, I know these are kind of boring stocks. I understand that. But those boring stocks can sometimes be the best place to make some money when the market is uncertain. So watch carefully here on some of these. We've got things like Campbell's Soup making that nice bullish pattern starting to happen here. Colgate-Palmolive showing that nice bullish pattern in here. Take a look at CLX. CLX has been coming up and trying to challenge this downtrend in the chart. So look at some of those old borings, even things like AT&T, Verizon. Now I have a bias here because I am holding AT&T on a longer term basis. I've got a huge profit in this, holding this off of this weekly chart, looking really good, pushing on through here to the upside. AT&T continuing to stretch. Don't be too surprised if there's a little rest or pullback that occurs in there, but AT&T continuing to look very good. Take a look at with gold going up. Take a look at some of the miners out there. Barrick Gold could be setting up a little higher low in here on that chart. Take a look at KGC. KGC has been struggling to move back up here, still in a downtrend, but if we can catch some price support in here, we continue to see gold move up. I would watch for those opportunities here in gold. Take a look at things like AU, also pushing up, PAAS. Trying to hold on, and with a little bit of bullishness here, we might push right back through that chart as well. Take a look at things like NEE. NEE, I've got this alert on that chart, had a nice little push up yesterday, trying to break that downtrend here in the chart. This is one of those first higher lows after breaking that downtrend. Watch that carefully here. Some of those defensive sector area stocks like utilities could be very important to be paying attention to as well. Other stocks out there, NIO has been holding in this support area, had a nice little push to the upside, pulled it all the way back, trying to hold in there on support. I think it's worth keeping an eye on. I'm not super excited about it at all, but watch that carefully. Of course, other places that we can also look, guys, is in those inverse ETFs. And I know nobody wants to be on those, but you guys know I've been talking about the potential of RWM. If you want a single or a one-to-one with the IWM, obviously that is a very bullish run to the upside after breaking that downtrend. Any rest or pullback in there sets up that bullish pattern. We've stretched right through the 200. Hold that 200-day moving average as a support, and then you've got more upside opportunity in that. You've got SH in here trying to break through some resistance for the S&P 500 up through its 50-day. We're in the rounded bottom breakout here. A little rest or pullback would set up an opportunity there. And these are just the one buys out there. There's tons of the doubles and triples out there that you could be taking a look at. Take a look at like UVXY if you wanted something in the VIX and the short-term futures, making that nice run here to the upside, testing its 200-day. So any rest or pullback in here sets up a potential opportunity there as well. So keep a close eye on those. There's quite a few of those to watch. This Intel had this nice push up here. We ran into some resistance and pulled back, but breaking that downtrend here, if this holds a higher low in here, might be interesting. Start keeping an eye on that. One of the few techs starting to show maybe just a little bit of comeback coming in here. So keep a close eye on Intel. So with that, everyone, I'm running this video a little bit long. Thank you, everyone, for the kind wishes of support. You guys have just been incredible. I truly appreciate it. It's very humbling for me. The kindness that everyone has shown me through this difficult time. We still have another funeral ahead of us next Monday, but we'll worry about that later as we move through the rest of this week. So y'all take care, y'all be safe, and we'll see you right back here bright and early Wednesday morning. Thank you so much, everyone.